Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another Reader's Magnet featured author interview. And we are currently live in all our streaming platforms, that's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. My name is Rob, and I am your host for today. And together with me right now is one of Reader's Magnet's featured authors who was an active lawyer involved in political matters, a school trustee for 10 years, a travel connoisseur in which he traveled all continents, married for 65 years, and a loving father of four children. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Richard Tafel. Richard, how are you doing today?
I'm not so bad, thank you.
Well, Richard, so I love to know more about your book. So, can you please show us your book to the audience, to the viewers?
Well, this is how it looks over here.
Okay.
It was printed in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
so that cover wouldn't be on the
But hey,
books that you'd get there in the States, but that's what it looks like.
but hey, again, to our viewers though, title of Mr. Richard's book is "You Can Control Your Government: How to Restore Real Democracy to the Citizen." So, Richard, tell us, what is your book all about, though?
Well, it's about referendums. It's
Hmm.
about the utilization of that method of determining rules and laws within a country that can be used much more than most countries, including both Canada and the United States, do.
Mm.
And
Wow.
referendums, though, of course, result in decisions by those that answer the question. And if you have a good law establishing the manner of utilizing these, the end result is that is the rule, that a law has been determined by the people who have answered the referendum, which is you people, everybody. And it's not by the elected representative or the governor or whatever. It's
Mm.
by the people, the majority of the people that answer the question. And
Oh.
there are ways and means of making sure that it doesn't prejudice minority groups or anything of that nature, and that it is understandable clearly, and that a proper number of people are involved in establishing uh, that they want this to be a decision of the people. So there are rules that have to be followed, and they are clearly set out in the book. It's a very short book, should be easy to follow.
Hmm.
And so, where does it work, though? And of course, if you would ever visit Switzerland, which is a country that oughtn't to be operating effectively at all, because it's four official languages, my goodness,
Oh.
and surrounded by huge countries, France, Germany, Italy, etc.,
Hmm.
and has absolutely no resources to be able to utilize in their country's economy, but
Hmm.
they just have people, and the people have managed to establish businesses and um, economies that work, and somehow that's been going on a long time, and we should be following them. We should utilize what they have done in order to improve us.
Hmm. Agree on that. Well, but Richard, because again, I would assume that Switzerland, the country, was basically the idea for this book that you created, correct?
Well, that's the first place that I knew about it. I must
Mm.
confess. It was just luck that when I went there, I began to find out more and more. And of course, there's books about it too that just clarify just a lot of the governmental details.
Mm. Okay, but again, you've been to many continents, but you chose Switzerland. But why was Switzerland specifically the inspiration for this book? Like, there are some other countries that might be the same as Switzerland's government, but why choose it specifically? Like, I want to know. I'm really curious. Like,
The word you
why
use,
Switzerland?
the word you use is might be, but there are no other countries that I know
Hmm.
of. that
Oh.
utilize the referenda as effectively as Switzerland. Yeah, you even have a few referenda places in the States. Some
Mm-hmm.
states in the United States do employ referendums occasionally. They're not as well organized and
Mm-hmm.
as effective as in Switzerland, but they have at least started some, and some states do work pretty well with them. But there's not many countries that I know of
Mm-hmm.
that utilize referenda anywhere near it as effectively as Switzerland.
Oh, wow. It kind of gets you thinking. Yeah, because I said might be, because I've never heard of anything. Only Switzerland is really well known for doing this. But you might be right. But there are some other states that might be applying this. But it's for us to at least discover. Maybe they're in the steps and trying to achieve true democracy based on your book. But going back with your book, Richard, because you told us that it has details, it has things that are being described. But do you think that if people start to apply on what's on your book, that we can really achieve real democracy within our places?
I certainly do. If they could read it and follow through with it, and of course, there needs to be some implementation, there needs to be some energies. So
Mm-hmm.
young people like you are more likely to be effective in pursuing the goals than old people like me now. But there's lots of need to do it, and I think the young people, as well as older ones, of course,
Mm-hmm.
realize that their democracies are not working well, not well at all. And the United States is certainly a good example of where things don't seem to be going as
Mm-hmm.
well as they would wish, as the people living there would have wished.
Mm. Okay, but again, Richard, we again, as you said though, young people are the most people who can do the greatest impact when it comes to achieving real democracy. But within these details and these steps and these things that we can do as citizens, which one of those steps do you think will be the hardest for us to follow and to do so we can achieve that change? Like what we.
But that's a good question because the hardest by far is to get the representatives that are now being elected to pass the laws that permit the use of referenda. And one must agree that most representatives are very self centered and they don't particularly, initially at least, want referendums because if somebody can write up a rule, a wording of a referendum to alter what the representative may have wanted to pass, he wouldn't like that. So
Hmm.
it's the difficult thing is to get the people generally to go after some of their elected representatives to pass a law allowing these referendums. And the
Hmm.
law will be detailed with rules to make it effective. But as I say,
Hmm.
it's tough to get an elected representative to pursue such things when he wants to run the show himself. But
But hey.
as I say, you need to get a group of people after a very honest, careful uh, representative to implement and get his associates to pass the
Hmm.
rules that permit it.
Hmm. Well, yeah, really nice take though. But I think like if we can get these representatives to do this, as what we discussed, but I think though that in order for us, because based on what we have been discussing and based on your book as well, I think the best way for us to really get that head start and try to at least achieve something that we're trying to aim for, which is real democracy, I think it starts on who are the leaders that we choose to from the start then. Because if ever we elect the right people that will be our representatives, then they can at least hear us and reach out to us, and they can at least pass the laws. Which is again, as you said, passing the law for referendum is one thing for us to achieve real democracy. but the hardest part is reaching out to them and letting them pass the law. Am I correct?
You're quite correct. It's difficult to get such done, but if there's enough pressure, enough
Hmm.
push by enough people, some representatives will realize that a way to get reelected
Mm.
is to initiate and
Hmm.
get passed referendum rules, because
Mm.
Switzerland has elected representatives exactly the same as the states. Actually, they have a Senate and House of Representatives. They don't call them that, but they are identically pursued there as in the states. They don't have a president elected there. They just have a committee of 7 that sort of acts as the executive, but
Hmm.
they elect representatives, and their representatives accept and allow and make sure that properly implemented the referendum rules there.
Mm. Awesome. Really like that though.
The
Well, you know
people,
what?
and those
Yeah.
representatives are no different than the ones in the United States. I mean, they have their own interests, but they do have a bit of a history that
Mm.
they know it works, and they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to change it, or they'd get kicked out.
Well, hey, again, it's going to be a long, arduous process for us to achieve that, and I really do believe it. But again, Richard, after everything has been said and done, though, it always boils down to us citizens. So I'd like to ask you if there is any message that you would like to leave your viewers or your future readers of your book on how your book can be an impact, not just for your government, but for them as citizens as well. Any message you want to leave them?
Well, there's a very big message, and that is get the book. The book is the book is short. It's easy to read. It describes things well, and that's how they will better understand what has to be done
Mm,
and what will result after it's effected. But
mm,
it is necessary, really, for them to fully understand how the heck they can make this work. I mean, lots of people think that the majority of people are dumb, but they're not. The
mm,
majority of people have common sense, and they do if can affect change uh, effectively without any undue problems that you might have thought about. And but really, the details are in the book, and
yeah.
it describes how to how it works and
Mm.
what you have to do to get it to work.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Hey, Richard, I just want to interject though. I got a question here from Betty Miller. What are your future writing goals or projects? Do you have any in mind though?
I, I'm now 91 actually, and I actually have no projects, uh, no new projects,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But this is one that I know about, and I've studied a lot about, and it's if people would read it, that would be completely satisfactory to me.
Ah, awesome. So, hey, but again, though, even though Richard might not be having any future projects, though, you can always catch him live during his sessions, though, which is 30-minute live sessions at the Festival of Storytellers. So, don't you worry, though, we'll be plugging in his time schedule. So, if ever you want to know more, or ask these questions that Richard would be very welcoming and at least would love to answer these questions. Feel free to join his live session and ask these questions away. So, Richard, you know what? I really loved the interview. Thank you so much for your time. So, to everyone, once again, this is Richard Tafel. Get his copy of his book, You Can Control Your Government: How to Restore a Real Democracy to the Citizen. And again, it's available through Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So, Richard, thank you so much. And again, you are really a stalwart figurehead people can lean on to. And as we say here at Readers Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you very much for your time, Richard. Okay, have a good
Thank
one.
you. Thank you for